My name is Beth Twist and you're watching the Heartstring Samplery FlossTube channel where I talk about cross stitch, my designs, and anything else in the cross stitch world that might pop into my head. I also talk about my life, the things that inspire me, and I am often sitting somewhere like this, my backyard. I live in Oregon, where it has been a beautiful, cool, mild, wonderful summer. We live here because we love the green, we love the forest and the mountains, and we like the climate. It rains 9 months out of the year, so don't plan to move here if you can't handle clouds and rain. Summertime, often we get heat and humidity, but because it's only a couple months of the year, many of us don't have air conditioning, so it can be a little hard to live with. But this year has been perfect. We had like 3 days in May that hit 90 degrees. The rest of the summer has been upper 80s a few times, but mostly mid-level 70s, which is wonderful. And today it's August, and I'm wearing a sweater because, well, it's chilly. It rained overnight, it's damp, but it's green. I've had to water my flower beds very little this year, and it's fantastic. But really, I'm here to talk more about cross-stitching than the weather, so that was just a tangent. I tend to go off on some of those tangents. Today I have a list, a scribbled list of things to talk to you about. And the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is what I've been up to and why things have been a little quiet around here. I decided sort of last minute to take an unplanned partial vacation for the entire month of July. I kept my Etsy shop open, so most people maybe didn't even realize it, but I put planning, I put projects, I put larger scale designing type things on the back burner, and we just did some family things. We had a weekend away in Central Oregon. We had our yearly yard party. The week in between those two things, we went through all of the flower beds. Our poor mid-40-year-old bodies were feeling our age. We used to do this kind of yard work all the time, every year, and hardly feel it because we were young. And yes, I know we're still young, but we've reached the age where we feel it a little more. We've also reached the age where we've reached a point in our careers where we can go to the garden center, and instead of just getting ideas and dreaming, we actually can buy plants. And this time we filled a cart and a half, and it was fantastic. It was the best date ever. Our kids are 13 and 11. They did not want to go to the boring garden center with us, so they stayed home. We went and got iced coffee and flower shopped. It was great. And I just felt a couple raindrops. Hopefully I won't have to move this whole everything inside, because if you could see next to me, I've got some piles of things I want to show you. Small piles. This is not going to be a super long video today. So July was nice. Now it's August and I'm back at it, and I've got 2 new designs that I'm going to show you today right here on this video. And probably today is Thursday, August 8th, and that was a bumblebee checking me out, trying to decide if I'm a flower or not, and I'm not. But right next to me over here are some flowers that the bumblebees love. And here, do you want to see? Let's see if I can. There they are. They're wonderful. They're called anemones. Common name is windflower, and they get super tall, like 5 feet tall, on these long stems, and they just kind of sway in the wind, and they're so lovely. Anyway, so I'm recording this on Thursday, August 8th. It will go live Friday, August 9th, which is the day that I'm releasing these patterns. So by the time you see this video, you'll be able to go to my Etsy shop and find my 2 new designs ready for purchase. If you prefer to buy from your local needlework shop, then, and if they order directly from me and not from the distributor, they should have the charts in stock. It's totally raining now. I'm trying to decide if I should just sit out here and get rained on. It's a light rain, it's August, it's not hot. But I don't know that I want my needlework to get wet. I'm tipping it forward so it's not getting wet. We'll see if this sticks around or if it blows over. Welcome to August in Oregon. Anyway, if your local needlework shop is on my automatic list, their patterns will go out in the mail tomorrow, so they should have them in their hands by Monday. If your needlework shop does not order directly from me and are waiting for the distributor, it's going to be a couple weeks before I ship patterns to the distributors. So if you want to get them sooner than that, talk to your needlework shop or go to my Etsy. Before I show you the new ones though, I want to show you, I don't know what to do. It's not really raining, it's only kind of raining. You probably can't even see it. I don't know, is my hair starting to get droplets in it? If you watch my videos regularly, you heard me my last video, which was in June, 2 months ago, sorry, talk about a collection of ornaments that I was going to release through Crazy Annie's. Crazy Annie sells through Facebook, I believe, and she had Christmas in July. And I designed, sorry, it's Jingle Belly because Christmas in July, I designed a set of ornaments which I turned into a bunting. And I'm getting them ready to show you. Last video I showed you the pattern cover. This time I'm going to show you the actual ornaments. Can you see them? Inspired by the Christmas song Ding Dong Merrily on High. So there's ding dong, and there's a church in the middle because the song is all about steeple bells, and there's forest and stars. They can be finished as individual ornaments, or you can do as I did and put them on as swag and put some little vintage jingle bells at the tips. And this Christmas I plan to hang them across my hearth. We heat in the winter primarily with a wood stove, and so that'll be a fun little addition to my usual Christmas decor. So Crazy Annie's should still have them available. However, I do know that she is running slow in filling orders right now. Apparently her mother has been ill, and so right now her priority is taking care of her mom, which should be the priority, right? Cross-stitching can feel like an emergency when you really want to get that pattern in your hands, but ultimately it's a hobby. It's a way we relax, it's a way we make our homes beautiful, and I know how that desperate feeling of needing to get it now, but realistically we know that family comes first, and so I hope that her mother is going to be okay and that she can return to her usual production speed soon. So be patient if you reach out and request this pattern. All 5 charts are included in the pattern and the instructions for finishing them as a bunting. If you reach out to her and you don't hear from her right away, that may be why. Also, I should mention that when I design exclusives, the exclusive period is typically 12 months. Sometimes someone will request a little more time. Sometimes someone will say, we don't need an exclusive period of more than 30 days. So for me, when I design something, my intention is for it to never be completely exclusive. I want it eventually to become available to everyone. I also print my patterns myself. I have a small print shop in town that does the covers for me, but I do all of the backs and the pages myself. And so I am able to print to order, and none of my patterns are unavailable. I've been designing for over 10 years now, and every one of my patterns is still available. All of them through me, and then a majority of them through my distributors. So, Ding Dong Merrily on High ornament set. Go to Crazy Annie's on Facebook. It's, you know, stuff is really starting to get damp. I'm just going to keep going. I'll just make my video quicker. So, next to show you is something that it's big. Look, oh, see, look, there's the back. I haven't sealed it in yet. You get to see my unfinished, my little Frankenstein stitches on the corners. I pin the edges, and then if it's smaller, I'll completely lace, but this one, because it was bigger, I just stitched the corners. I started designing this one actually a few years ago, and I kept getting kind of stuck on it, and I think it's because I really felt more pressure to get it right this time than I usually do. I'm usually happy to just follow my inspiration and say, you know what, I like that. Let's just release it the way it is. And this one, for some reason, I just felt the need to keep tweaking it. And so often what I'll do is I'll design something, and then I'll close it and I'll put it away, and I'll give myself some space and time, and I'll go back and look at it. And then, you know, change some things. Sometimes it just takes that one time and I'm happy. And this one, over the course of a couple years, I kept going back to it and tweaking it. It still wasn't quite right. And I think the reason is this is a wedding sampler, and I stitched it in honor of my maternal grandparents. And kind of the short version of their story is printed up in the pattern. So if you get the pattern, you'll be able to read it and understand why their story is special. So I'm just going to show it to you now. This is designed, it comes with a full alphabet and number set so that you can customize it for your grandma and grandpa or for yourself. Maybe you've got a big anniversary coming up. My husband and I have our 20th coming up, and I thought maybe I should have made it for us, but I needed to make it for my grandma and grandpa. Maybe you have a niece or a nephew or a son or a daughter or a coworker that's getting married this year or next year. It can be done for anybody. It's a big one. It's what's the stitch count? 295 by 253. Not gigantic, but it is pretty big. And I stitched mine on R&R Reproductions 36 count Old Mill, which is one of my favorite linens. My favorite count is 36, so it was a joy to stitch it. I used All Weeks Dye Works threads, and I used one thread over 2, and it is still this big. So it says down at the bottom, love is that condition in which the happiness of another person is essential to your own. Isn't that true? It doesn't have to be married love. It could be the love of a friend. It could be the love of a child or a sibling. But I think that's such a great description of what love is. Love can be so hard to define. So up here at the top, there's a nice space for names and date. My grandparents were married in 1945. And then a lot of traditional motifs that people like. The baskets of berries, to me, represent being fruitful. There's a pair of lovely deer and some flowers and keys and hearts. And then down at the bottom we have a house and some sheep and a couple of ponds. And most of those motifs have connections for me with my grandparents, but I also think they're universal. Oh, the hummingbird's up here. And then in the central wreath, there's just this open space so that you can include a photograph. And what I did for mine is I just poked some holes in the photo and attached it with little X's. You could also blanket stitch around the outside or do a little straight stitch. The pattern does come with a template for the circle, so that if you also stitch on 36 count, you know exactly the size you need to cut your photo. If you decide to change the linen count, you'll probably want to alter that circle either slightly larger or smaller, depending on what you decide to do. But there it is. And it's just called Wedding Sampler. I know, it's not that creative, but you know, if somebody's looking for a wedding sampler to stitch, and I named it something like, something to do with the quote at the bottom or something, they might not come across this, and it's specifically designed to be a wedding sampler, so I just called it Wedding Sampler. There's the pattern. These patterns retail for $15. I've increased my pricing scale from what I used to do because the cost of shipping and production has just gone up over the years, and for the first 10 years I didn't really change my pricing scheme. So for a larger pattern like this, $15 I think is reasonable, and I hope you do too. This wedding sampler, Heartstring Samplery, look for it in my Etsy. Go to your local needlework shop and ask them for it by name. And they'll say, oh, I haven't heard of that. And you can say, well, that's because it's brand new. Go talk to Beth and get it from her. And I will be happy to send it. The other brand new one, excuse me while I reach down, also releasing tomorrow, is my very first, drum roll please, I can't do that with my mouth, I don't know why I just tried, Biscornu. I have wanted to try one of these for so long, and because I don't have time to stitch anybody else's, I decided I'm going to design one, and my first Biscornu finish is going to be my own design for you. It's called Brown Bird Biscornu, because brown birds, and then some bunches of berries, and it has all of my favorite colors. The colors just made me so happy in this one. And then the bottom is also completely charted. You don't have to stitch the bottom completely too if you don't want to. But I think you should at least stitch the corners, because when you look at it from the side, isn't that fun? To have sort of the geometric pattern here with the more whimsical top. I chose to not put a button in the middle because I wanted to have stitched motifs in the middle. So I'm pretty happy with it for my first Biscornu. I think it could have used a tiny bit more filling, but oh well. Who's gonna critique me on that? Maybe the judge at the fair if I were to enter it. But for my purposes, I'm super happy with it. There's the chart cover, and because I know not everybody watches my video, I made sure on the chart cover you could see what the top and the bottom looks like by adding these small. This is a $10 pattern, and like the other, will be available in my Etsy starting August 9th, 2019, and available through my distributors, through needlework shops. I hope you like it. And let's see, what's next on my list? I'm going to talk a little bit about Needlework Galleria, which is coming up in September. My very first time going and selling at a retail show, and I'm hoping that a bunch of you are going to be there and I can meet you in real life. Being a cross-stitch designer is kind of weird. I feel, plus living in a rural part of the world where there's not a huge cross-stitching community, I feel a little bit isolated. And then when I do get out to meet other stitchers, I'm like, I'm the designer and people would know who I am already, and I don't know who you are. And so I feel a little bit at a disadvantage because you know me and I don't know you. So by all means, if you're going to be there and you come into my room, just say, hey, you know, I feel like I know you because I watch your FlossTube videos. And that will make me have a little bit more of a connection with you, even if there's a lot of you and I don't necessarily remember your name later. Maybe tell me what your FlossTube handle is or your Instagram handle. I might be more likely to recognize and it might ring a bell. Because I do try to read all of the comments and see what names pop up next to the hearts and likes. And you know, we're kind of a small niche community, but we're connected because we share the love of the same hobby and craft, and I like that. And so I'm looking forward to meeting a bunch of you, and I hope you're looking forward to meeting me. I am excited because I've only sold live at wholesale shows. And when you sell wholesale, your pricing scale is different. So, for example, if I wanted to make a kit, I'm trying to shoot for a realistic retail price, and then I have to subtract 50% off of that, and that's what I'm going to charge. And so sometimes kitting or making a finished item to sell wholesale just doesn't make sense because my mugs, for example, I have Costco print mugs for me, because if I were to go to some of the other mug printers, I would have to literally buy thousands of mugs because they don't let you order in ones or twos or dozens even. And I just don't have the space to have a warehouse with a bunch of mugs in it. So I have to go somewhere where I don't get the huge price breaks in order to do some of these finished items that I like to do. So the mugs I can't sell wholesale because I already pay a pretty high price for them. Does that make sense? So going to a retail show, I'm actually going to bring some of my mugs because it takes out that middle cut, and I'm able to sell them directly to you. And so that'll be fun. I'm also going to take, let's see, stickers. I released stickers at Market last year, little sticker sheets, themed ones, and it'll be the same sticker sheets. So if you already got some and you haven't used them yet, you can use them. You can actually use them because you'll have another opportunity to buy some more. I did kind of a limited run around Market and have not offered them since then. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to bring them back. I'm going to have my needle nannies there that Zappy Dots makes. I am going to make up some of my necklaces. Oh, I was going to put one on to show you. I make pendants that have little glass domes over them, and my newest version of the pendants, they're double-sided. Not the same image, but images that match, so you could have, you know, two images on your necklace. So I'm going to bring some of those. I'm thinking I might bring, if you've been following me for a while, you may know that a few years ago I made some little stick pins for frogging out your, you don't ever have to frog your stitches, do you? Because you always get it right the first time. But sometimes you might have to frog out your stitches. So I made these stick pins and they have little frogs on the end. I think they were darn cute. I love mine so much. If I have time, I might bring some of those. My mom enlisted two friends, two of her sewing friends, and they have been making project bags like crazy. Now, mind you, these ladies don't cross stitch, they're quilters, but they are having so much fun. My mom keeps updating me with quantities. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna be bringing so many project bags. Here's an example of my mom's project bags. This is her larger size. They're lined and quilted on the back, and they have a handle, which I love. And then they've got, you know, zipper and a vinyl window. And then she has a fabric strip at the bottom of hers, and then a coordinating fabric on the inside. I often pick the fabrics for her because they're fabrics I've chosen for various projects and have leftover, and I don't have time to sew anymore. I used to quilt and do all kinds of stuff, and I just don't have time anymore. So often the fabrics are chosen by me, but she's starting to branch out and choose the fabrics herself too. And her friends have just been stitching from their stash. So I'm excited. I'm gonna have a big stack of handmade project bags for you. So when you're shopping all of the other designers that are gonna be there and you manufacturers, you could literally go to Lindy Stitches, buy a pattern, go to another shop and get the linen and threads, and then come to me and get one of my mom's project bags. It's all ready to go. Can you believe it? It's gonna be great. It's gonna be amazing. I hope I get a chance to get out of my room, but I don't know. Even if I'm just stuck in my room, I think it'll still be fun. So, what else am I bringing? Well, I'm bringing some other stuff, but I want to keep it a secret a little while longer. No, I have one thing I'm going to show you. I hope you like this idea. I think it's an amazing idea. My mom was like, really? Because it's playing cards. Like poker, hearts, I don't know. She's like, really? Cards? And I'm like, just because people cross stitch doesn't mean they don't play cards too. She's like, well, I guess you're right. So I have some different images, some antique sampler images. There's another one. They're just basic playing cards, decent quality. No, there's another one that's an antique sampler. I guess I have 5 varieties, and this one has a little bit from His Eye is on the Sparrow on it. So here, let me open up one of these and show you. They come in a little plastic case. Not super heavy duty plastic case, but durable enough. And then they're just playing cards. I used to love, I don't like playing cards now. Solitaire. I like solitaire. But I think over the years, I just learned so many different variations of rules of different games, like pinochle, and I didn't like trying to keep track of all of the different people's different rules. So I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I'm out. You guys play cards. I'll play solitaire. So anyway, I am going to have playing cards there. They're kind of heavy. I have to ship everything. So just a word of warning, if you're going to shop in my room, don't expect it to look amazing. Because if I were to do it right, like you would walk in and it would just be warm and inviting and there would be just eye candy everywhere. But practically speaking, if I have to ship everything from Oregon, I can't ship props. I can't ship all of the things that will make my room look super. But I am shipping lots of fun things for you to buy, so hopefully that will make up for it. And I do have one of my helpers that has been helping me in Nashville the last couple years, lives in St. Louis, which is right next door to St. Charles. And so she and her daughter are going to come help me, and my faithful Nashville helper, Donna, is going to drive. It's like a 5.5 to 6 hour drive. She's going to drive up and help me as well. So I'll have lots of helpers, and between us, hopefully we can make that room look amazing and keep it running smoothly. So start saving your pennies. I know that Teresa Vinette is going to be there, Shakespeare's Peddler Kitten Stitcher, and what I've seen at her room at the Nashville show, if that's an indication of what she brings with her to Galleria, oh my gosh, you guys are gonna die. Her room is gonna be amazing. I haven't looked at the full list, but I heard that Stephanie Webb is gonna be there, which will be great. And I think maybe Beth Seal. It's gonna be fantastic. Okay, what's next? So I do have a couple other things, like one thing that I am beyond excited about, but I'm not ready to show you yet. And a couple other little custom items that I'm having made. I will probably, so I'm leaving on September 18th for Galleria, which means my shipping deadline is a week before that. So sometime around the 1st of September, if I'm not overwhelmed with back to school stuff, I hope to put up a video that will show you, or record a video before I ship, that will show you all of the little things I'll have there, so you'll know what to come look for. We'll see. I partially homeschool my kids. They're homeschooled 3 days a week, so beginning of the school year, there's sometimes my kids have to take precedence over my job, so we'll see. No guarantees. So I am going to have an exclusive kit, and this is something that is going to be outside of my normal. I may release it in the future as just a pattern, but not a kit, because it's going to be a little more complicated to ship if I sell it as a kit online. Anyway, I'm pretty excited about it, and everybody who has seen it so far has been like, wow, that's really cool. How do you do that? And so that's been really fun. These are non-stitchers. And then I've showed it to a few stitchers, and they're like, oh, I want to do that. So I'm hoping that you all feel the same way. I'm going to bring a flat quantity to Galleria, and when they're gone, they are going to be gone. I'm not going to order anymore. So I will show those to you for sure ahead of time, because if you're somebody that's not going to be there, but you're going to have a friend that's there, it might be something that you would want to ask them to grab one for you, or two, or however many you want. So that's exciting. I think that's all I have to say about Galleria. Oh, not entirely. So I am going to have 4 new releases there. 4. So 2 of them are going to be official releases of former club pieces that you may have seen on the web somewhere. And 2 of them are going to be brand new. One of them will be fall, and one of them will be Christmas themed. And so a couple of those will be September releases, but I'm not releasing them until after Galleria, and then the other 2 are October releases. So you're actually getting a pre-sale. Is that the right term for it? They're not an exclusive, but you're getting a chance to buy them before they're actually released to the public. Well, all 4 of them. But 2 of them, once I get home, will go live and will go out to shops. Anyway, that's exciting, right? And I'm going to have a trunk show, a decent sized one. I'm going to bring some oldies but goodies and some more recently released ones. I'll have my 2 brand new ones. I'll have last month's release, the Choose Your Own motto sampler will be there. So lots of things to look at and see. And then, so the rest of the year, after I get through Galleria, I don't have any events on the calendar for the rest of the year, which feels good. And actually the reason I can do Galleria in the first place is the retreat I was going to teach in October had to be canceled. And so I suddenly had this open calendar and I was like, what am I going to do with all that time? And something about Galleria popped up. And so I contacted Kathy. She's the owner of Inspired Needle in Lamont, Illinois, I think. And she's the one that's coordinating Galleria now. And she's like, well, the floor with all of the shops is full, but we're thinking of adding some rooms on another floor, and let me get back to you. And she did. So if you've been to Galleria in the past, it's going to be bigger this year. Exciting! Okay, so after Galleria, it's going to be a little quiet around here. I will have a few new releases. I have an adorable primitive reproduction that my friend Brandy is stitching for me right now that will be released in November. And then in December, I'm going to have a chart. It's going to be a collection of smalls that will be released together in one chart pack. That will be fun. And then after that, it's all about market. I'm actually already doing some market stitching right now as we speak. I was working on it earlier today, and we'll pick it up tonight after the kids go to bed. I am beyond excited about what I'm bringing to you in March at market. Like, so beyond excited that I'm worried. This is what we as designers deal with, okay? So we get excited about an idea and then we're like, oh my gosh, what if everybody hates it? Okay, disclaimer. I know you're not gonna hate it. I know you're gonna like it. But I think there's a little bit of worry that my amount of excitement about it is gonna be met with, oh, hey, that's really nice. Instead of, ah, and I want people to be like super excited. I'm only going to have, I think, like 4 new designs at market, and I know that some people come to market with like a dozen or 6. It's hard to manage that many all at once for me because I'm releasing basically every month of the year something new. I'm not like saving up, and so it's really hard for me to do that. And also, I am releasing in March my 200th distributed design. And if you know anything about my history, you'll know that when I hit my 100th, I released His Eye is on the Sparrow. More so as an indulgence to myself, I wanted to do something big and memorable because I was super excited that I had made it that far to get to 100 designs. When, you know, I'm at your mercy. I get these ideas and I put them out there in the world, and I don't know if you're going to accept them or not, but that the fact that you keep liking them and keep buying them gives me the motivation and the fuel to let those other inspirations see the light of day. I think it's a really beautiful circle. The feedback I get from you is in sales. That you think that at some point in time you might stitch one of my designs. You want to add it to your stash. Or you might actually start stitching it right away, which is even more amazing. So I was like, 100, I want to do something big for 100. And so I designed His Eye is on the Sparrow. And you guys, 6 years later, you're still buying that pattern from me, and it blows me away. So I decided I'm approaching 200, and I made sure that my schedule would come into play so that that 200 mark happened at Nashville Market in 2020. And so the sister pattern for His Eye is on the Sparrow is going to come out. Haven't started stitching it yet. Took me 6 months to stitch Sparrow. So I need to get started on this really soon, but I have one other project I have to finish, two other that I have to finish first. So there's the colors. And the linen. And the pattern is in there too. Not going to show you that. So it's going to have a similar look. You're going to know that they're sister samplers when you see it. But because of changes in dye lots, changes in my own personal taste and style over time, I've decided I'm not going to keep the exact same color palette. And so I gave myself freedom to just explore different color combinations, and even these colors that are in my bag right now are bound to change. A few of them. Some of them are just gonna happen. So that's gonna happen next year. And that's all I have on my list to talk about. So stick around. I usually throw on a couple of little video clips at the end. Just whatever I have videotaped since the last YouTube video. Typically stuff around here, the kids in the yard and bees. Oh my goodness, my poor bees. I have not spent time with them this summer like I have in the last previous years. Part of it is intentional. If you know anything about my beekeeping journey, this is year number 3, and I have encountered, you name it, a hive being poisoned by pesticides, a hive that left because it was hot and wildfire smoke was in the air and they didn't like that. And so this year I am taking a little bit more of a hands-off approach than a hands-on approach. Part of it intentionally and part of it just because I've been busy. So I need to get out there and do another hive inspection and take some pictures and videos so that hopefully in September you guys can see the bees. But I have not opened up the hives other than a quick peek for almost, I think, a month and a half. Everything looks great from the outside. So, you know, the bees have been doing this for millennia without the help of beekeepers. So I don't know why I should feel so bad. I've provided them a home. There's plenty of flowers for them to forage from. I shouldn't be worried, but everything I read the first year of beekeeping said, check on your bees once a week so that you can learn, you can make sure your bees are doing okay. And then last year it was about every other week. And this year it's been more like a month or 2. It's okay. I see them out and about on the flowers. Right now my herb garden has completely bolted. And so the peppermint and the oregano are blooming, and oh my gosh, you go out there and there are hundreds of bees on one plant. It's crazy. It's, you know, one of those things where, you know, herb lore tells you harvest your herbs before they go to flower and go to seed. And then from a pollinator perspective, it's actually nice to have those late season blooms for your bees, native bees and honeybees, to have access to, because this time of year is when all of the flowers and plants are finishing up their bloom cycle. And unless you live somewhere, you know, that's south where there's almost always something flowering, it's not the case here. So anyway, it's fun for me to go out there and see happy bees in the herb garden that I am not maintaining like the herb people tell me I should. So anymore, it's mostly about the bees and not about the herbs. So it's all good. I hope that you're doing great in your part of the world and have had a lovely summer or winter. If you're down under, you're just wrapping up winter here pretty quick. You know, the world keeps spinning and there are tragedies all around us and there are joys, and we just keep plugging away because that's what we do, and keep loving each other and loving the people around us as best we can. And I hope that you are enjoying your season of life regardless of what may be happening around you. And I will be back here, hopefully, in just a couple of weeks with more to show you and talk to you about Galleria. Until then, be well. Bye-bye. You guys, look at all of these blueberries. I both look forward to and dread blueberry season around here. These bushes are all basically for our consumption. And the kids and I will come out here during blueberry season and pick for hours. Well, okay, maybe a couple hours, up to 3 every other day. And we try to do it early in the morning so it's not super hot. But this year I think I'm going to keep track of how many hours I spend picking blueberries in the summer, because we have several different varieties. I don't even know how many bushes we have. 1, 2, 3. So there's 16. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. There's 4 rows of 4 in front of the greenhouse. And then because we decided that wasn't enough, we put in, they're kind of overgrown right now, but it looks like 4 more bushes. And the intention is that at some point in time, we'll be able to have friends and family come out here. And this might be the year, because I still have blueberries in the freezer from last season. So we might have some people come out and share our labor and take some blueberries. Anyway, I just wanted to show you, it's looking like it might be a bumper crop this year. Today is June 17th, and that's about where blueberries are at in development on a typical June 17th in the foothills of Mount Hood, Oregon Cascades. And do you want to take a peek at what's going on in the greenhouse? This time of year, it's usually a little fuller, but we're not really doing vegetables this year. There's just way too much going on with my husband's job, and it's kind of his baby. I do all of the pickling and canning and freezing and chopping, and he does all of the tending. And he just doesn't have it in him this year. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, looks like about 9 pepper plants of different varieties and 4 tomato plants. And yes, these stay in the greenhouse all season. There's even some baby tomatoes. Because our temperatures don't stay warm enough consistently enough for the fruit to ripen. And we find we used to try to, we would start them from seed in the greenhouse early in the spring and plant them outside, and they would finally decide to start putting fruit on in like early October. and then the frost would come, or it would just be too wet and they would rot before we could eat them. So this is our solution. The greenhouse is the tomato and pepper house. And typically there's a rotation that happens where early in the spring there are all kinds of starts in here. Pumpkins and squashes of different varieties. Anything that can be transplanted successfully will start in here in little tray packs, and then once they go in the garden, then the tomatoes and peppers go in. But we did not do any of the tray packs this year. And you want to see my gorgeous vegetable garden? Yep, you guessed it. That's it right there. The old bean trellis from last year. And weeds up to my armpits all over the place. There's a big project to come that will involve fencing for chickens and little tunnels around the outside perimeter for them to eat slugs and such before they can get into the garden, and then on the winter to be able to let them roam on the garden patch. But for now they're just stuck down there in their little moving portable house, and the thistles are taking over. I heard you, kitty. Where are you? Hi. Did you hear me talking? Yeah? Do you want some love? Hi, buddy. Hi, old man. Oh, you feel warm. Say hi to FlossTube. So on closer inspection, this hive has a lot of bees, but they still have a lot of open frames. But I wanted you to see this section in here. If you look closely in the cells, you can see larvae. And this is actually drone larvae, and I can tell it's drone because the capping on the cells looks like a little piece of Kix cereal. If it was worker bees, it would be flat. And this domes up because drone babies are bigger. And then look at all this beautiful glistening nectar. Oh, I almost dropped that frame. I'm going to stop the video now. Hey Jack, what happened?
I wasn't paying attention and I drifted into the bush. The bush didn't move it toward you?
Is he going to get out?
Jack will come pick you up. Come on. I'll bring you a chainsaw or a peanut butter sandwich.
Hold on to your hat. Need some help?
I think I got it.
Right under the deck. Now he's just showing off. Oh, maybe not.
R.I.P. water bottle. Paparazzi.
This is approximately 13-year-old bridge decking.
And
It's
the
gotten quite soft.
3-day-year-old.
3-day-year-old.
3-day old. 3 days.
It was time to quit driving trucks and T-Rex
Right in front of your face.
and bulldozers and tractors across this old bridge. The telephone poles and steel undergirdings are still strong and sturdy. We're just putting new decking on.
More deck boards. Oh, how are you going to do that?
1, 2, 3, jump.
Walk right across the top. Walk right across the top.
I'm going to leap across like a gazelle.
No, you're not. Because when you press off with your foot, it's going to cave in.
And I'm going to land on my face. I'm actually going to go for a walk while you go get the new deck boards.
Okay, why don't you go with them? You might be better off across the top of the beam. Okay. Jack, come get her hand. Okay, I'll be back.
I just want to get off
Oh,
the
by
bridge.
the way, dear, we put the level on the bridge.
Yeah?
Perfect.
Really? Still?
After 15 years.
Wow.
Because when I watch too much, I end up shopping.
Exactly. So that's another thing.
Yes.
What if we just don't do it?
But one of the things I kind of found that there's certain channels I can watch and do a lot of stitching.
Some people I just can't watch just in general.
Yeah,
That's just like
There's no proof.
Some
You
people I
have
can
no
watch them
proof.
stitch, so then I do get some people I don't like the sound of their voice, and I just can't get past that.
Right.
It's too late to start. That's just me.
No, I think it's a personal preference. If someone, people grate on other people, and that's just the nature of humans, you know. Some people you can listen to the tone just right. They say, oh my God.
And I tried watching these things, and I can't get with it. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
What?
She doesn't, yeah, the stitch with me. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I like Michelle's stitch.
Right.
Because of course, like, who am I kidding? Like, I'm actually gonna like hold myself down to stuff I can.
Sometimes I need to not be.
That's not. That's ridiculous. That's
Every year in late July and early August, this tree in our front yard, it's a northern red oak tree, sounds like there's a swarm of bees in it. And it's because there is not a traditional swarm of an entire hive that's moving somewhere. It is every kind of native honeybee and bumblebee you can think of. And they're getting some sort of a sweet residue off the tops of the oak leaves. And if you hang out under the tree in the shade, you'll actually get a fine mist of little sticky drops coming down. And I never knew this is something that oak trees did. If you've ever experienced something like this, do let me know. But it's amazing. You walk under the tree and it's just, the whole tree is just buzzing. And standing back here, you know, I would think that you would just see thousands and thousands of bees up there, and it's really hard to spot them. But it's a pretty cool tree. This is our anniversary tree. We planted it on the first anniversary of our first date, which happened to be a month after we got married, because we dated for 11 months. And then every year we take pictures with this tree in our front yard. And I love that it's become this place for the pollinators to gather in July and August and gather something from the leaves. At first I thought it was resin that they were using to make propolis in the hives, but this year the farm boy, out of curiosity, decided to lick a leaf and see what it tasted like. And he said it's very sweet. So, who knew oak trees make sugar for bees? Anyway, just thought I'd share that with you.